Here we go again, everyone. Welcome back as we peer into the imagination of many of the great artists of our time. Still largely unrecognized, which is maybe why you come here. Artist Journal, January 24th, 2023. Broadcasting to the world from Berlin, Germany. One man, a laptop, and a phone. My name is Adrian Pocobelli. Thank you for joining us once again. And so, One Don't Knows, who we've tracked for a very long time, very nice guy, by the way, and he has a new work. It's part of a burn mechanism. He is basically what I would call a surrealist collage artist, and he is remarkable. He is remarkable. And you know what my favorite part is? I mean, I just noticed what seems to be like smoke coming from below the mask here, which is pretty rad. To quote Haiti Rockette there, that's pretty rad, what's going on there. And the GM tattoo, that should be a real tattoo. Like, if you're going to get a tattoo there, GM is pretty darn cool. That is pretty cool. Anyway, but my favorite part maybe is actually this kind of tablet thing. And they're on SuperRare. It looks like looking at One Don't Know's work on SuperRare or something. And I'm just such a, trading card collector fiend from when I was a kid, and comics and stamps, which is why I'm all over this scene, as you all know. And here I just see like the 9-card collection sort of thing. I made the Peloponnesian War is basically a trading card series, and this is how I wanted it to be displayed. So anyways, this looks awesome, One Don't Knows. And even just the, like, kind of the wallpaper design, but that's kind of done as sleeve tattoos here. And, kind of like a classic, I think this is kind of like a Quattrocento, 1400s, 15th century kind of moon, sun sort of situation you might find in Italian Renaissance, and kind of substituting that with a big eye, which I think even some Renaissance people might go, hey, nice substitution. The eye, the light. Anyway, very, very nice work. The key in the back. And everything. And even the splashes. I never noticed the splashes. They're quite well done, aren't they? All these little black splashes, the ink. So really, really nice work. Part of a burn mechanism thing. The color. One Don't Knows is very good at color. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, One Don't Knows. I'm getting better at working Chrome here too, as you can see. So anyways, this is part of this. So you upload, it's a burn to redeem. And again, when I see all the mechanics that are going on and all the experimentation with buying and selling art and all the different ways, to me it actually starts to say that we are, in fact, in a golden age. This is basically, at first I thought, oh, is this like 1960s Marvel and DC comics? That was the Silver Age. Maybe this is actually like the golden age of comics. This is like 1941. 1942, Captain America, Action Comics. That's kind of what this feels like, which is maybe why I've been driven personally to do what I do here. Because it feels like it has all the elements of classicness written all over it. And we see it we're drowning in this, from an artistic level. And just like even the mechanics and these new mechanics, which maybe 20 or 30 years from now will be seen as like, yeah, that was when that mechanic started or whatever. Or maybe it'll just disappear and will be just this, it's hard not to love all the little stories that come with this scene. Again, it has classicness all over it, written all over. Anyways, I could go on and wax philosophical. So you can actually get that work if you buy this work, Poisonous Rose, or if you already own it. And this was selling for quite low, 0.08. Now it's selling for 0.16, $276, because Ethereum is going to the moon here, temporarily, likely. Not financial advice. So anyways, if you own this work here, which is pretty cool, you can, I guess, attach your wallet and burn it here and redeem this gorgeous work. And what's interesting about this is there's probably a scarcity on this, right? Because not everybody's going to be aware who owns this. So there's probably likely but not necessarily going to be less of these works here. So, of the new work. So anyways, you have 4 days to burn to redeem GM Legends from One Don't Know. So interesting. Rainbow has left the building, everyone. Thank you to the anonymous collector here. And actually, I was looking at their wallet. I've been looking at a lot of collectors' wallets these days. Because what's going on here, and shout out to this anonymous collector. Thank you. And you see a rune tune here, and you see a paper crane. It's either an anonymous wallet by someone who already collects, or it's maybe someone new, okay? So that's pretty cool. So anyways, and maybe, just maybe, soon they'll be creating too, if they are in fact new. We're kind of all over that here. Now, Twitter Spaces, tomorrow, Rune Toon and I will be discussing a really awesome subject. Did any writers influence your artistic practice? If so, how? So writers' influence on the visual arts. I could probably speak for 4 hours on this. My biggest influences as an artist are writers. Ballard primarily, somewhat Burroughs, as we're going to see here. Here it is. Actually, this is what so Uxine, I love it. Uxine's the best. So he puts this quote, and I didn't recognize it. And I thought I knew my Burroughs pretty well. DE is a way of doing. It is a way of doing everything you do. And you just hear, if you've never listened to William Burroughs, listen to the audio. It's kind of crucial, I would argue, to understanding, actually, William Burroughs. I would actually argue maybe even at least half the art is the audio of his contribution, quote unquote. DE is simply means doing whatever you do in the easiest, most relaxed way you can manage, which is also the quickest and most efficient way, as you'll find as you advance in DE. So I looked up this quote, and of course, thank you for I'm glad, if Uxine's excited, I'm excited. So look at this, already 10, I just posted this like 40 minutes ago, 10 likes, 3 retweets, 2, we may have more comments here. So anyways, I hope you make it to Mary Migraine. Dante, so I think there's a lot of excitement on this topic. Again, if it's just me and Rune Tune, I think we can have a great discussion here. But I think people are going to be into this one. Look, Dante, but also film directors like Terry Gilliam, and lots of manga, like Mura. Berserk massively influenced the way I think about humanity and society and my role on it all. So already we've gotten a couple of comments here, another retweet there. Anyways, so check it out, Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will pin this on my, or at least it will be near the top of my feed there. So watch out for that. Artist Journal on Rug Radio. Shout out to Rug Radio. And here is, DE stands for doing easy. I had to look this up. And again, I thought I knew my Burroughs. And here is the quote. So in a 1960s portrait of William Burroughs, you gotta love, you know what I love? One of the things of writers from like J.G. Ballard and William Burroughs, he always kind of wore a suit. And even like these early writers, James Joyce, like they always kind of dress up. And what I loved about that is it's sort of like, when you're saying the kind of crazy things that they're saying and kind of offering this arguably fairly subversive narrative to use a Terence McKenna word, to the dominator culture, to use you don't want to be, like, in a sense, from a personal point of view, and what I liked about it is they're so radical in their head, they're almost trying to blend in as, let's put on some business wear and a suit and a tie so people don't run us out of town by what we're saying. So I always kind of loved that. I may adopt that more and more in my day-to-day life, particularly as you get older. Why not? So anyways, shout out to Uxine and Mary Migraine there. Thank you for the comments. And feel free to leave comments yourself and show up to that and share what you think. I think it'll be a great discussion. Interesting comment from Antonio Loves. We're discussing this very interesting topic of if you have older works and then you post them, is it somehow, is there an irrational bias from the collector's point of view that it's somewhat less collectible? So Antonio Loves said, GM Pocobelli, thanks for the mention. I still wonder if the previous works are less collectible too. Lol. Actually, I think I already have the answer. So, and I think he means maybe they are. As I said, I mean, the work is great. And I think the work will leave sooner or later anyways, probably sooner in his case, as it usually does. And as Santiago Itzicotl says, irrational bias defines the situation pretty well, which is how I described the collector's view that maybe work that was made 3 years ago that's minted now is somehow quote unquote less collectible. I'm kind of like mixed feelings about it, because I'm still back to, if it's a digital work, it's a digital work. Like if Ralph, what is the name of the Gonzo, Hunter Thompson, the guy who was the cartoonist on Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, whose name is escaping me right now. If he was releasing works that were purely digital from 10 years ago, I would still think that's the work. So I agree with Santiago, and in a sense, I guess my own assessment, that it is an irrational bias from the collector's point of view. My concern is if it's a digital work. If it's a natively digital work and it's never been minted before and the artist is minting it, well, what's not to like there? Sounds like an opportunity, if anything. So interesting comments. Thank you for the comments, everyone. I don't want to call it a troll comment, but Treza Rodanks, note gatekeepers, LMAO, laughing my ASS off. I wonder if he watched the show, because there are no... Feel free to point out the gatekeepers for me on Object, because that is what we were discussing. I maybe thought maybe you didn't watch the show, because I don't know, like, help me out here if you know where gatekeepers are here. Because, if you want to find gatekeepers, go to the contemporary art world and try and have your art shown. Like, then come back to Object and say it's full of gatekeepers. So I didn't understand this, where it's coming from, but feel free to explain. I am curious where the gatekeepers are. Continuing on, Uxine, Do Not Cross. So this was just a great work that was posted on Twitter. Again, one of these free works showing the plentitude here. And what I liked about this a lot was just adding a new element, the Do Not Cross, the police line Do Not Cross. So I thought that was great. And using it and substituting it as bandages for this invisible head. So I thought that was great. Yeah, so people are waiting. See, all the X-Copy fans are waiting for Uxine's next drop here. You gotta love the kind of ASCII, I think it's ASCII text that's here, or Unicode, whatever it is. You gotta love that. Back to our multimedia theme, multi-chain, multimedia, and Debbie T, who I didn't realize was on SuperRare, and we're gonna see some work. This is actually from a work on SuperRare, which we're gonna look at. Here, I'll just show it to you really quickly here. Debbie T is a wonderful artist, as you can see here, and just kind of a great, like, to me, this is kind of it kind of summarizes the scene somewhat, right? I mean, she's really good at kind of summarizing the spirit, you might say, of the NFT scene and the digital art scene that uses NFTs and, just these JPEGs in the air, these JPEG dreams. So this was on SuperRare. It was a 1 of 1, of course, high-resolution JPEG 3000, and we'll go back to the physical there. Released on January 11th, so I didn't even see this, but I mean, the work is beautiful. And look at this. Excuse me for the gloomy weather, but this is probably the prettiest giclée print I've ever seen in my life. I'm including it to the 3 Niduses and the Mythical Airdrop NFT on my SuperRare. And this is a German etching, matte textured paper, 310 grams. So you see how important all this stuff is actually pretty important. And I agree. I mean, this is physical. It almost looks like a digital work has been like pasted onto a picture of a paper here. This is beautiful. I mean, it's stunning. And it wasn't actually that big. 3,000 by 4,000 is big, but it's not massive. So if you can get this kind of quality, and look at this. I mean, and it looks like, I don't know if this is a 1 of 1 also, because if this is a 1 of 1, then it's like, who knows what this could go for or what it should go for. I mean, that looks stunning. So congrats to Debbie T. And yeah, fascinating. So Giclée, again, German etching, matte textured. Let me just save that tweet there because that's pretty useful information. And this beautiful work, which hasn't been bid on. Now it flew underneath my radar, so I didn't see it. Continuing on. Ezra Eslin, who we started the show with yesterday, she also put out another work. This is with Fake Whale Collection, a one of one, much tastier than it looks. So a pretty dark work. We see like the retro default TV here, which is classic. And it looks like a little bit of cannibalism is going on here. Always keeping it edgy. We see a brain, we see eyeballs and blood. It's pretty almost upsetting, right? You see the arm that's been, like, it kind of takes it to the next level. This is like a cannibal kitchen, a cannibal's kitchen. What did she call it? Much tastier than it looks. You can add some salt according to your taste. So keeping it edgy here, okay? And frankly, like, I may be uncomfortable thinking about that, but from a general perspective, it makes me bullish that edgy topics like this are being discussed, because that's what happens in great art, okay? In great art scenes, you are dealing with stuff like cannibalism, or in great, books and, back to the novelists and whatever. So, is this like a Marquis de Sade type thing? Very interesting, right? And very cool. Rare, just an update on his market. So remember this, The Dog with the Rabbit, Year of the Rabbit, Year of the Robot. Great title, Rare. Sold for $369 on secondary. So, and again, that's an edition of 23. So we're back to that idea that Robness V2 put out last August, that watch out for when on Tezos, when you start getting these collectors that just have to have something. Because that's where you start getting the crazy prices. And that's not a crazy price yet, but it's a very nice price, okay? And let me just show you what else. So this is what it went for on primary. Still very nice, 213, 214. So someone that missed it. And look at this, edition of 15, emotional support here for 555, okay? What else? 130, edition of 6. Okay, so edition of 10 for 100. So again, pretty nice activity for Rare. Now remember Neurocolor, I think from yesterday, and I was posting this work and I saw it on Twitter. This is from, did I bring it up? I did. This is from like a year ago. This was minted almost a year ago exactly. Maybe that's why they posted it, January 27th. So in 3 days, it'll be a year. This interesting work, Archaeology of the Future. It was on SuperRare, which I also didn't know. And look at how much it went for. So 6529, punk, the metaverse, open metaverse, probably the most famous, I'm guessing, CryptoPunk personality there, paid $92,500 for that work, 36 ETH. So that was when ETH was at like probably $2,500 or something, maybe even more. So that is interesting. So went for a pretty penny over there. So just kind of like an update on that work. And Neurocolor here. So he posted this 2 days ago, January 22nd. So just a little update here on this very interesting artist. And also Neurocolor did a open edition a month ago. Okay, and look at this. I mean, 0.1 ETH per edition, so actually not that cheap. I mean, not super expensive either. Kind of a smart price, actually, because it looks cheap because of the one, but it's actually 0.1 ETH, 725 minted. So again, 7 ETH, again, like $10,000 probably at the time a month ago. Okay, so anyways, just very interesting. That is over and ended a month ago. Interesting text here too. I think sometimes it works in the artist's favor where the less said, the better. Let people's imaginations, project into what you're doing. So anyways, just a thought. Interesting splashes here too, since we're on these paint splashes. Very nice. Continuing on. So also someone who is kind of in the same feeling, Zadian Rats, X-Rats, created by Inton. And this is one of those collections as well on Foundation that we're seeing. 0.111 ETH, edition of 33. And so these are still being minted, I believe. And here are some of them, but I'm not positive on that. 33, maybe they've all been, it looks like 13 have been minted, and maybe these are the 13. Okay, that's starting to make sense. But it almost has kind of a same psychedelic feeling, like this kind of really intense neural, like almost indirectly neural. I mean, testing out these mouse kind of games, and pretty dark in a sense, but pretty just kind of intense and interesting too. Kind of crazy with the, creepy a little bit. This one's quite different. So anyways, that is on Foundation. So another kind of psychedelic work here. And so they are still being minted. There's 20 left. Dizzy 2 by Acid Boy. Reserve price of 0.8 while we're on the psychedelic front here. Acid Boy is a master. We will put on some volume here in case sometimes he puts volume. So anyways, interesting, kind of a master of the psychedelic abstraction. How about we call it that? A master of psychedelic abstraction, Acid Boy. Pretty cool. And always like kind of different and everything and very prolific. So all adding up to be pretty convincing. Dizzy 2, it's part of a larger series. And also Rosaceo. So he put out his Genesis, I believe, on SuperRare here. And let me just quickly check on that. And while we're checking on that, so reserve price of 0.5. This was put out January 4th. I don't think we looked at it. So it's possible, but I don't think we looked at it. So I thought we could just take a quick look here. And interestingly about Rosaceo is he actually, and I believe it's a he, and yeah, it looks like it's the only work, one creation here. So waiting for a bid, interestingly. So here's Rosaceo on Object. And so I only kind of knew Rosaceo from Twitter. And I think we were even seeing this work in progress. So anyways, I quickly followed him. So this is January 22nd. I've missed a ton of his work on this show and took 100 for it, edition of 1. So anyways, very nice, interesting work. And here is the library. So I just followed Rosaceo. I didn't realize he was on Tezos. Anyway, so it's all looking pretty good. Okay. And so anyways, your inner collector might want to check this out. The one of ones look like they have disappeared. And I think actually this edition of 5, I think I saw mech.txt put in 42. So anyways, if you guys ever think I'm missing an artist, feel free to message me, by the way. And I do get messages from people. And actually, we're going to look at an artist today that someone messaged me. So latest, and I quite like this too, this notification situation. Just interesting, collage painting, It's kind of collage, but painterly. And yeah, and it seems like sometimes it's almost like collage with, brushed, like the difference between, say, this and One Don't Knows, among many other things, but just technically, is it appears that, here we have digital painting and like a clear brush, and also with the window here, but then with the whale, that looks like direct collage, right? Because I don't think Rosaceo put all that little detail in the whale, right? So just kind of interesting combination here in this new world that we're sailing into here. Kappa Sage, Grudge and Fortune. Another just kind of interesting work. So clearly here we see the creation of Adam, as we looked at in previous episodes here, with a bit of a gangster kind of, even a yellow balaclava that is almost reminiscent of Joe Rogan's dad there. And the gun going down to this Adam figure who is kind of a G, and then a woman in the background. So almost the surrealism. We see it in Board Me Social Club as well. The Sphinx in Egypt, but with a Pepe on it. And then whatever's going on over here in these kind of weird, almost snake-like sort of, forms here, and then strange composition with the woman kind of half-cropped here. Very interesting. And this almost looks like a snake here. But like, who knows? And then the vans are beautiful here. So anyways, interesting work. Full of mystery and surprise. Edition of 10. I picked one up right away, and they are now for 26. See if there's any info. The black flamingo ended up being the golden flamingo in the eyes of the Lake of Time. So people are pretty far out here. Speaking of far out, Turkarak. This is kind of a family-friendly TV show, but there's nothing too graphic being shown here. But I just thought it was a great composition, and the color was excellent, and it was just kind of unique. So I had to show this work by Turkarak here. Edition of 1, and this went to Mentalist, who is also a Turkarak fan. So again, back to this edginess, right? And so interesting work from Turkarak, 1 of 1. Dan Control, more kind of edginess, but in a different way. Again, Dan Control seems to be regularly challenging aesthetic norms. And this is what, a lot of, because you could say, well, what's with this kind of weird colors here? And, why are you showing this? And another kind of strange Dan Control. It's because he keeps challenging, I think, aesthetic expectations. And that should be looked at, and that kind of becomes, and again, with Dan Control, it's always the idea that comes first. The sound of rain. So this is rain, and you wouldn't even know. And it's sort of like representation becoming abstraction. Or at least I didn't know at first. There's another one. Head in the Clouds. And you don't know even how much he's making fun of the viewers like myself. Like maybe this is the joke's on me, right? But that's kind of part of this whole challenging and showing, it's always good to keep things unpredictable. As I always like to say, the hallmark of good art is unpredictability. There's nothing worse when you're listening to a song and you know what the next line is going to be, or how that, the words that are going to end the next line. There's nothing worse than that. That's when you know you're listening to, subpar pop music. And so Dan Control is keeping things unpredictable here, which is why I continue to pay attention here. I wonder how these are selling. I mean, and he is selling these, and nothing against it. And maybe, and look, mech.txt, Mikey Wilson, some great collectors here, Lorna Mills, so anyways, keeping it interesting over here. Continuing on, Ellis Spree, just another kind of strange composition. I guess not too strange. I guess the woman is in the lap of the man here, and they are going, it is a strange composition, into what looks like maybe a mall or a tunnel. But then this street here looks like a street that's kind of at a weird angle. And then almost, what this looks like? This looks like it's coming from above. This is the perspective from above. You're on a building and you're looking down. That is what's going on. Maybe it's Miami and this big sea here and the palm trees. So looking down from the top of a building. Pretty cool. I've never seen a painting like that, simple as it might be. I've never seen a painting like that I can think of. Where My Devils Go by Ellis Spree. And yeah, Tungsten Dow, new to me. Human Kernel with another experimental work here. Again, profile picture as template. And so here, instead of the classic kind of digital painting that's blurred in, again, challenging the viewer with basically hard-edged, digital brushes here. So continuing to challenge, and this one hasn't sold yet. So maybe it's too challenging. Interestingly, another 1 of 1, The Wildlife of Human Kernel, or of HK. Interesting. Ed Marola with a beautiful work called Painter. Again, this looks like a portrait because the guy with the beard always seems to be Ed, and almost in bed here. And perhaps, it reminds me of The Dream, Pocobelli's Dream or whatever, where there's the guy that's kind of the cover. He's not dressed. It looks like he's in bed, basically. And this is interesting here, too, this kind of frame in the air. And working, I quite like this work. Again, this kind of JPEG'd out pixels, these kind of trademark rough pixels here. And keeping the demons away, maybe. And the demons are even on his head. And there is his palette painting away on this tablet of sorts with this traditional frame. It's fascinating, guys. And look, the fire, all of a sudden it's like, are we in hell here? And maybe this is a mountain or something. Is he in hell? It's an interesting question, right? Again, that looks like flames the more you look at it. Fascinating. Tom Bombadil, a new work. So the ever-prolific Tom Bombadil, and you know what I love about this work? You know, this is what happens when you're prolific, is you start doing little experiments. I love this edge, where now the frame is kind of alive with this CMYK, or maybe these 8-bit colors, however you want to put it. You know, this very limited palette here, and then has, you know, maybe the character that he has normally, or some other guy with a skull. And again, I love the shadows here. This very simple, you know, it's not dithering, but just very simple pixel pattern. It's very effective, and people love it. So yeah, this sold out right away. Edition of 25, I think, for like maybe 10. And so $250, boom. Boom, maybe more, 260, 270, Plasmatron 7000. And remember this, so this came out yesterday, or the day before, whatever it was. Started the auction at 200 and went for 250 to Metagrim. So again, healthy market here, isn't it? So that is great. Now, FYI, okay, so I missed this at first, and I saw this I've shown this ice cream cone before on Twitter. Ile picked it up. I didn't realize you could get this stuff, but I found it on the weekend, and I picked up a few of these one-of-ones by Cap'n. So I'm kind of blowing the cover here of Cap'n's gift shop, because now you can tell a few people know about it, so we can all battle each other. So some KFC. So he's been putting out these one-of-ones of just like these very simple still lifes, for lack of a better term. Shout out to Mom. It's still lifes, not still lives. You know, beer and, you know, kind of psychedelic coffee here, and tea and toast, the pancakes. I mean, it has a bit of a Wayne Thiebaud feel to it, doesn't it? That interesting artist. Let me just bring up Wayne Thiebaud for those that don't know. Someone was mentioning it on one of our spaces. I think it was Rare. Here's Wayne Thiebaud. So kind of classic, you know, still lifes of, you know, stuff you might see in a bakery or something. He's considered a pop artist, I think. But definitely like on his own trip. He might even still be alive. He died December 25th, 2021. So a little over a year ago, at the age of 101. There he is. So a classic American painter. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So anyways, he's kind of the guy you associate with these kind of still lifes. So here is Cap'n, for those that are wondering. So I think it, and I could be wrong, but I'm like 99% sure it's the same guy, because you see it's the same style of kind of moving pixel art, right? And so Cap'n Gift Shop, it seems to have all the hallmarks here, using deluxe paint and GIMP. So another artist using GIMP. So this is interesting, all these people using GIMP. I wonder if like their animation has something to it, because I'm wondering why people aren't using Photoshop. I mean, GIMP is free, so that is also perhaps a factor for people. Here's another one, pepperoni pizza. Again, kind of psychedelic feeling. And this one just came out yesterday, Lavender Incense. And who did this go to? And he's selling them for 10 Tezos. This went to Soapbox 1965. So I'm kind of blowing the cover here, Tea and Toast, of this very discreet release. Now, I put a search for Cap'n as I was looking for this stuff. And remember this person called Plants? I think this is Cap'n too. You see, it's kind of a similar kind of, you know, aesthetic and technique here with the pixels that are moving. And then here, plants are multi-pixelular psychotropical organisms in the kingdoms of Tezos, found in the depths of a lysergic dream by Cap'n Hayes. So we're kind of back to Cap'n here. So I suspect also this is Cap'n. So a little detective work here. After the waffle situation, now we're doing a little bit of a Cap'n investigation here. Here's another one, kind of looks like Cap'n, doesn't it? So maybe this is obvious to a lot of people already. I am doing a quick discovery here. Anyways, it's looking great. Again, Cap'n. So one suspects these are all Cap'n. Bite by Bit is putting out some more Banner Mania works. So back to our retro tech. That was deluxe paint in the Kappan gift shop. And here is Banner Mania. I quite like this one. He puts out a lot of them. This one's Soul. It kind of just hit a nerve a little bit of, it's kind of like people don't really use that word that much anymore. It is used, obviously, but you just think of the history of what that word means and then seeing it on a banner. There's just something there that I kind of liked that I want to show. So buy one of one, available for 15. And I thought I'd show a few of Byte by Bit's abstractions because he's made a series of them. And this is, again, using PC Paint 3.1, more retro tools. I think just seeing them all together, it merits a watch here, right? Like just kind of interesting. Sold out, by the way. Soapbox again, House of the Model, like nice collectors here too. And so just kind of interesting to see them all because you can start to imagine a room, right? At least I do. That's the cool thing about making series. Because if you did one of these on their own, it might not feel like it's standing up. But when you see like 4 or 5 or 10 or 20, you see, okay, there's a thesis here. There's a concept that is being explored. And, for example, and I haven't even looked that close. Like here you see three-dimensionality, which is upset over here and upset with this kind of purple-blue here, right? So it's conceptually, you start to see things going on, playing with perspective and whatever else. So Byte by Bit, a one of one here, available for 20. More beautiful work by Tezos. It reminds me of Hasdrubal Waffle. Now I think Teenage Wolf. The richness, like the richness in the textures of Tezos' still lifes here of furniture it's a feast, frankly. And I love just the simplicity of this whole series. Again, it's a nice series, kind of makes it kind of tidy for the brain, kind of to categorize and go, okay, that is that series all about. I'll probably never forget this series. I'll always remember the series of the furniture with the glitched out furniture and the super rich textures by Tezos. So the power of series, right? Future Chair, number 3. Future Chaise Lounge, number 1. And again, there's just a richness here. And I think almost no computer is what Tezos was saying in that YouTube comment. Ideal for maximum relaxation with its clean lines and raised back. The wooden legs add classic touch. Sure does. And it suggests that he's doing other versions here that are not necessarily, making the cut or being released. Let's put it this way. And a new one here, a one of one by Tezos, Moonrise Grid. This went for 55 within 2 hours. Again, as an artist, you can't really ask for, back to this idea of like, you can't ask for anything more, in my opinion, than this kind of market here. And again, I don't see a gatekeeper here. Help me out. If you see gatekeepers, write a comment, send me a message. I am curious because no one stopped me from minting on Object or from talking here or doing anything. Anyways, continuing on. Just kind of an interesting work. So there's a moon here. And you can see it turning into an abstraction. So just more interesting glitch work. And again, you see the hardware is being used. Roland V8 video mixer, Tachyon's Dream Weapon processor, Panasonic Lumix camera, and Sony PVM CRT television. Maybe that's why it's so rich. So I assume he's video recording the television. Okay, so pretty cool. I even wonder, I guess you have to do that with a digital thing so that you have a file that you can work with, right? That's probably another interesting question. Another interesting glitch, what I'd call glitch artist here, Lightbringer by Somfei. So Somfei is the artist. We'll see if there's any volume. I don't think so. No. And again, you see some old TVs here, which seem to be almost a part of that culture. This almost looks like some sort of god or something with a lightning bolt. Kind of an angel type figure with a cape, a halo, and kind of like a Zeus thunderbolt. What is this called again? Lightbringer. So almost a new mythology here. Half an ETH bid already, which is not nothing. So nice start for Somfei on this auction here. 3 days later. So it just goes to show, get your work out there. I say it to you as much as to me. I don't know if this is like an LB, back to these mystery identities, which is part of the culture here on the blockchain. Most people are not doxxed, right? Like most people, we don't know their names in real life, like probably 80 to 90%, I'm guessing, right? So is this an LB 4B? It kind of looks like LB there. I don't know. It's glitchy. And so anyway, it's just a nice piece here. And in a different style, though, than LB, but it's tempting to see it. And this was just minted on Versum, January 24th. Buy for $0. Wow, I might have to pick that up. Playing with light and sound. And here are some of the other things here. So this is another solution to, instead of, we're talking about series. If you're worried that work is going to be inconsistent with your oeuvre, I mean, it's a very simple solution. You create a new ID, new identity, and you put out that series. That's another solution. Because people do tend to like a consistency in the artist, right? Because if you're all over the place, then people start to raise questions. I mean, in my case, I have basically 7 or 8 series, and I stick to those for the most part. I rarely add new series, but I do here and there. But I do keep exploring those series, over time. So I hope that gives me a kind of pass and that people understand that. Otherwise, though, you do have to just stay true to yourself. Anyways, LB. Shock. How are we doing for time here? 41. Okay, I'm going to run through the rest here. Shock. So a beautiful work by LB here. Another glitch work. Interestingly, kind of combining anime, seemingly, or at least cartoon, combining mediums. And what does these hard lines look like when they're glitched out? Here's another one, same idea. So again, nice concept. You could buy both and you could put them in the same room and it all works together. Sorrow. What was the title of the other? Shock. Again, we see this kind of hardware. 800 by 600, 33 frames per second. So anyways, cool work by LB. A work by Koda Nakazono. Now this was released Christmas Eve with hologram gallery Chimosku Jackson, who often shows up at the Twitter Spaces and who's good to know because he often puts out, he has put out an open call recently, and he just takes everybody. At least he did in that one. So you could have had your work showing in Seattle and add that to your CVs. And all these little things help, right, as an artist. Social proof. You were just in a show in Seattle. Anyways, interesting work here, co-released with Hologram Gallery, Continuum number 33 from Nakazono. Koda Nakazono. Interesting. And I think this is a new one. So I looked at their new work, and again, kind of taking these, organic, globular, high-res, seemingly high-res forms, liquid forms, and doing a strong contrast with this hard pixelation in the background, and then this strange sphere. Buy for 80, edition of 4, so that's on secondary. So very quickly here, see what's going on. Sold for 6 on primary. Another work, Wirus, Wandering the Streets. So interesting combination, kind of like we were seeing with LB, but different. Again, taking a kind of cartoon, technique or anime or kind of illustrative, and then combining it with just hard pixelation. I just thought that was interesting, and you don't see it very often. Continuing on, Max Strecker with a few abstracts. This is fairly kind of pixelish, shall we say, or pixelated for Max Strecker. Now you're going to recognize Max Strecker. This is called Grid. 1 of 1 for 60 from Max Strecker. That's pretty reasonable. Again, he's the artist who does these kind of a ton of abstraction here. Max Strecker, so Verge, and he has some digital works here that we're familiar with his style. He's one of those early artists you discover on Tezos, Shell. And I just wanted to cover these. So all kind of part of a series, it seems, all released in the last week. Another work here, and I think, is that JavaScript? This is by Andrew Mitchell, generated with P5.js. So I assume this is a JavaScript, okay? Which is pretty interesting. Is that generative art? I think so. If JavaScript makes it, it must be, right? But help me out there if anybody knows. Great title. Love that song by REM, I assume. And that was kind of a word, I don't know if you'd call that a euphemism, but a word for, I think, mustard gas, I think, in World War I. I got my spine, I got my orange crush, right? Anyway, interesting work. And I had to show this. So Julien Pacaud, who I wasn't too familiar with, I mean, doesn't have too many followers in a sense, considering what you're going to see in the next tab here. But anyways, really nice take, original take on the tarot with some great kind of collage here. And look at this. He's on Nifty Gateway, limited editions, the Hidden Message Tarot Part 1. So he has all sorts of this collage tarot. It looks like he made his own tarot. His personal reinterpretation of the famous original tarot Rider-Waite edition. We talked about that earlier in an earlier episode, originally published in 1909. That is and still widely popular. Basically the most famous tarot card edition. You all know it, the Rider-Waite edition. So he did his own interpretation here, and it looks pretty stunning. It's really cool. So you can get that on Nifty Gateway. I mean, it's always weird seeing things in cash, because then all of a sudden I start to think, ooh, that's expensive, So it's better that things are in crypto sometimes. Une fois dans la pièce. So this is a collage by Bolin 132. So digital collage and digital painting combined. Pretty interesting as usual. I like just a nice, big, colorful scene, some stretched out stuff. So just interesting work. Edition of 13. And what did this go for on primary? And we're going to wrap this up for almost nothing. Tezos 40. So you could have picked that up. Edition of 13 for a Tezos 40. That's pretty good. It's almost free. This was sent to me, Ilya Bliznets, before an important conversation, AI and digital painting. So another example of combining digital painting and AI, which again seems to be one of those areas that are going to have huge, huge potential. So just interesting to see this artist here, Ilya Bliznets, put them on the radar. New work from Sumi Reusi. So from her regular account, I think this is new. Yeah, January 23rd, edition of 15, buy for 10. And this is where she kind of looks like she's using her new AI, or just her new series style of AI in the background here, and combining with digital painting or illustration, whatever you want to call that. And this is kind of classic for her. This is in her kind of main account, not her AI account, where she'll put some AI in the frame. Okay. So anyways, cool work. Passive aggressive, and a woman with a bloody nose, it seems like, eating at a diner. And here you almost see some AI as well. So it's interesting how it gets ambiguous. What's AI and what's painting? Continuing on. Just another work by Marina Amadova, who I share almost daily here because of her wonderful, wonderful work. Really interesting AI artist who just seems to be flourishing. AI artwork, yeah, so looking good. Santiago, this looks AI art, AI tools and GIMP. And another AI work. This is the most AI work I think I've seen from Santiago, the most obviously AI work. Because it seems quite AI-ish, for lack of a better term. Anyways, it's looking good. A nice big pattern piece with a few suns. I wonder if it's raw AI. Oh no, it uses GIMP as well. AI tools and GIMP, so keeping it interesting here. And Ile with some new AI works, and they're looking really good. I wonder if this is DALL-E or what, but it's just looking really nice. So Maryland 2023. Available for 3 Tezos. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 left here. There's 4 left on this one. She put out a whole series. Here's another one, Maryland 2023, Maryland AI. And of course, Ile has been wonderful with all the summaries or recaps, as she calls them. How's the model? So anyways, people are picking up the Marylands and the new AI. So it's looking great. So again, what gatekeepers? Not to overstate that, but I mean, anybody can come in, and frankly, anybody can start making art. Look at this person, Stephen Vasement. I started doing art at night, and here he is on SuperRare. Here I will share my observations. And so this is done, this work here, it's done with AI, I think. GAN? Yeah. Stephen has participated in several international exhibitions with his AI art. So I tried to recreate this scene with AI. So here's someone who's just starting at night to be an artist in AI, and now he's on SuperRare. How awesome is that? So released this really nice work here and has a reserve of 1.1 minted a month ago. And that, my friends, is your show. Thank you for joining me, and hopefully I will see you on the Twitter Spaces tomorrow. It should be a great discussion, a great topic, and thank you again for watching. Until next time, take care.